So for a gender identity of a male character, they get 0 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quote unquote, everything else is worth 3 points.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be fucked up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello, occultists, and welcome back to Occultae Veritatis podcast. My name is Leon Filger, along with
Gallifrey.
Oh, fuck, that's me. Papa Bray.
Mergy.
And I'm the soundboard demon.
The first major video game companies began to emerge in the late 1980s. The formula was simple. A small team would make the game, they would sell the game for a fixed price, and the consumer would own the entire game. What a concept. Then, the video game industry started becoming more and more popular, and by the mid-90s, video games had grown to $1 billion industry. Capitalism did its thing, and soon profit overtook importance over customer satisfaction or employee well-being at the company that made these video games. Microtransactions, DLCs, incomplete glitchy games, loot boxes, and other ways to get more money out of video game fans became the norm. And worse, many video game companies became cutthroat industries that operated like frat houses. Video game company employees were underpaid, overworked, and often subject to harassment and abuse in the struggle for profit in the video game industry. Today, on OVPOD, we discuss what I believe to be the worst example of gaming companies run amok. Activision Blizzard Inc. They are the company behind Overwatch, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, Diablo, and more. Today, not only will we get into how they rip off their fan base, but also how they created an environment where employees are harassed, exploited, and assaulted without any attempt to help them. This episode just might make me glitch out, so to keep my code stable, we need some poison.
So, what's your poison?
I'm drinking... It's not Soylent, but it's like a Soylent alternative in Canada called Whole Food.
It's not even close to Soylent.
It's a meal replacement thing that I mix in with day-old coffee to give me nutrients when I don't want to cook.
Like a mocha, high-calorie mocha shake. I'm drinking actually a little piece of your guys' part of the world that I brought back with me from where you folks live. I've got a Flatlander cider here from Crossmount Orchards, just south of where you folks are.
My aunt and uncle live at Crossmount.
It's fucking delightful. But also as a lifelong World of Warcraft apologist, I have a 40 of Jack Daniel's sour apple that I bought down in the States just so that I can make it through this, because
let's fucking go. For me, I was saying I'm sipping on Panhead Rat Rod, which is from a brewery in New Zealand in my hometown, Wellington.
No, Leon's got no poison. Leon is dry and hungry. But I got my hair did. My hair is fabulously dyed now, courtesy of Geo the Void. The colors are purple, pink, and blue, the colors of the bisexual pride flag.
Fuck yeah.
Leon is consuming their hair.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's in my face and it keeps falling into my mouth, so not half wrong.
Tasty.
I think at this point it's safe to say Activision Blizzard is the most evil video game company ever.
Activision Blizzard is getting sued. This is not a twit longer. This is not a disgruntled e-girl. This is the state of California has done a 2-year investigation on Activision Blizzard, and now they're suing them. This is no bullshit.
What do you think of the streamer who still streams their games? I think if you are a financially well-off streamer, you just fucking shouldn't. However, I do understand that some people may be in a situation where their financial, their income is heavily based around a Blizzard game, but I think in that case, they should still be extremely vocal about how they're against this if they're still going to play their games.
It's like the college textbook version of solving diversity. Just slapping together a bunch of diverse people, throwing it on, have them all smile together and saying, hey, anyone's, it's all... This, please come to my college. Please pay me way too much fucking money, please. But for video games. So really good job. But I had an idea for Activision Blizzard. What about instead of like this tool, because I love where your head's at, what if we just stopped the, I don't know, lack of diversity in the fucking workplace?
So yeah, Blizzard has a pretty deep catalog of well-loved games that they can farm out for the remaster treatments, which can give them annual releases for a few years yet, while hopefully they get their internal staffing issues sorted out and maybe kick all the fucking sexual harassers to the curb.
I mean, if they haven't already done that, what the fuck are they doing?
This is not a singular example. The ex-freaking CEO, one of the founders of Blizzard, who recently left the company, is even doing a statement saying, yes, this happened. I see you. I hear you. I believe you. I'm sorry to have let you down. What makes me go nuts about this is the fact that it just goes on and on and on, and then their stupid statement. I'm literally shaking with anger right now. I'm so sorry, but I hate that they gave the stupid, bland, non-statement. We value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity. No, you don't. A woman is dead because you don't care about striving inclusivity. These are lies from the company.
Okay, she was not afforded these same opportunities and unsurprisingly was passed over for a promotion in favor of her male counterpart. Similarly, other female employees at Blizzard Entertainment were assigned to lower level roles, denied equal pay, and further delayed or passed over for promotion in favor of male counterparts who lacked the same experience or qualifications, but who were friends with the male head of the unit. Okay, that shit I can definitely see in a workplace like this. God damn, it's not even just nepotism, it's I know a guy, I'm gonna hire my boy. And that's how it works. You put your boys on the payroll. Dude, I can absolutely 100%. I'm not saying that happened, but again, I'm not having a hard time imagining this shit. A newly promoted male supervisor delegated his responsibilities to his now female subordinates in favor of playing Call of Duty. So not only are you not doing your job, but instead of playing a good game like Dragon Quest XI, this dumb motherfucker apparently was playing Call of Duty?
Real women are having their lives ruined by crappy managers who aren't even... I'm so mad right now. I'm so mad because I feel like in some way I tacitly... My money went to this. This stupid t-shirt that I bought is fucking part of this... Excuse my cussing. This t-shirt also goes... This money also goes to a company that just doesn't care about women. And now people are talking about doing a boycott of coverage. Gaming outlets are now talking about basically just not talking about. Prima Games is saying that they're going to put a hard pause on it. Game Explain has said they're not going to be talking about Activision games or Blizzard games any further. And I think that this may be the morally responsible course of action. As much as I love Blizzard games, as much as I want to talk about Diablo 2 Remastered, as much as I want to do these games, as much as I want to talk about the dumpster fire that is Diablo Immortal, I feel like it is no longer it's no longer morally correct. I've played some bad games, I've played some good games. I love reviewing games in general. I love just playing stuff, but if my options are to talk about a company that is hurting people this much for absolutely no reason, or to talk about games that are made by people that aren't absolute scum, I think it's time to talk about games that aren't made by people who are absolute scum.
At the end of the day, like, these games are fun to play. If you take away all the executive bullshit and all the stuff that management and all that was up to, there's a lot of genuine programmers and game designers and artists that put a lot of their blood, sweat, and tears into these games.
I think that's a large, like, maybe it's just what the World of Warcraft community calls copium. When I think about playing World of Warcraft, it's about going around and being, a student of Malfurion Stormrage and running around with my druid and trying to, save the world from the old gods. And it's not about weird, shitty things that they do as a company, but you can't have one without the other, right? And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about some of the stuff that's been going on with them as a company for the last couple of years, but like, people choose to stay there and work there, and they're good people who care a lot about the game. If it's like, oh, if I could just give you my however much it is a month because I don't even check anymore, and have that go to like these people and be able to sort of buy with your dollar that way, that would be great. But if you want to play that specific game and engage with that specific lore that has been beautifully tenanted and the systems that you like, you don't get a choice.
Caveats. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I'm not an employment rules expert. Parts of this story we'll talk about legal issues and labor laws and union rules. This is my layman's reading on what I've read. So, we're going to start light with some mild, greedy business practices. I'm going to talk about Overwatch. How the Overwatch game has gotten worse over time, and how it's attempted to grift fans of Overwatch out of their money. Overwatch used to be my game of choice until I stopped playing. I'm a Symmetra main. I love to fuck people up with turrets. But I've talked to several lifelong fans of their other games, and from the people I've talked to, each of those games has its own flavor of getting worse in a way over time while becoming more expensive and adding in more microtransactions.
Over the last handful of expansions, particularly Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands, it's seen a lot of systems that are really expensive in terms of time for players. But the thing that with World of Warcraft is that there's also an in-game economy that is, I would go so far as to say, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of real world money equivalent that goes on every day, that further and further pushes people to actually put real world currency into the game. It's been steady over time, and something that's been talked about with the game community a lot. It's been acknowledged by the game developers at Blizzard multiple times, and then keeps happening.
What kind of thing would include in-game transactions?
World of Warcraft is an MMORPG, right?
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're not playing alone. You're like in a server with probably thousands of other people all playing at the same time.
You are a hero of Azeroth, and you are going around solving the world's problems, from killing a pig and getting a necklace that it stole back to fighting the gods of death to save the fabric of reality. And in order to do that, you need to get super sick armor and weapons to go along with whatever class you decide to play.
You can just buy that shit?
To an extent. Most of the time, somebody in the game has to get it to drop randomly as part of looting enemies, or take materials that you can gather in-game, collect them, and make it. And then you can put that in the auction house. Somebody else can pay you in-game currency to then get that gear. Obviously, there's a range from stuff that you would just buy so you can what's called transmogrify or use the appearance, to things that are actually the best in slot item that all the competitive top-end players are willing to pay lots and lots of money to get. So you can put your real-world money and buy World of Warcraft gold with it, because that token will also let you buy things like game time. So
does that democratize the game, where people with the means are able to play to a higher level than the common folk?
Exactly.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, the tendency that Merg is mentioning is kind of a repeating pattern within gaming companies, and especially Blizzard. That's the choice they offer. Even you can invest a fuckload of time to earn something, and all of us have jobs and responsibilities. So most people don't have the time. So that's the problem they create. Is it takes a lot of time to make these things, and then they come up with a solution to the problem they made. You can pay your way to get there. Like, this seems trivial. Like I know some people out there are gonna be like, "Oh, these fucking guys are complaining about their video games," but people get beaten around by rich people in real life all the time. Like, a rich person can park anywhere they want because they can afford the parking tickets, while the rest of us have to, all that kind of stuff. And video games should be an escape from all that bullshit. But when they set up games like this, all of a sudden all the rich fucks are the most powerful people in the game again, and you can't escape it.
To illustrate how bad the power imbalance can be in World of Warcraft, a top-end guild gets thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in sponsorship to pay people in game to give them their stuff. Liquid will send you real life stuff if you show up and do what's called a splits raid with them and give them the gear that your character loots. Meanwhile, some of us can't even fill out a raid roster, right? Like, the disparity is huge, and it's okay for a lot of us at the bottom end until it becomes financial, right? Like, there's grind, and then there's this is inflated and I can't get my foot in the door.
Just to show you what that's like in the example of one game, I want to talk about Overwatch. From the time it was released in 2016 to now, it did a speed run of what typically games went through as greed went over time. Overwatch was released in 2016 with an upfront price tag of $60, and it was immediately embraced by gamers. Like, if you want to picture it, imagine if Disney made Call of Duty. So imagine Call of Duty, the shooting game where you run around and shoot each other, except all the characters are bright and Disneyfied and cartoon and varied, and like there's things as silly as there's a hamster with a vehicle-sized hamster ball running around, and you get in this big arena and you fight each other. It's lovely.
Blizzard Entertainment Incorporated started out as Silicon and Synapse Incorporated on February the 8th, 1991, which would make it 31 years old. It then became Chaos Studios in 1993, and then shortly after became Blizzard Entertainment, and then released Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans.
Yeah, so they likely went through the whole gambit. They probably had their stage where they released, shocker, the whole game for one price, and then slowly they started to introduce things like subscriptions, and it's like a Netflix subscription. If you want to keep on getting the new updates to the game, not only do you have to pay for the game initially, but you have to pay the subscription to keep on getting updates, so they keep on getting money out of you. And Overwatch had problems, like Overwatch 1, but they were minor compared to the problems that would arise in Overwatch 2. One of the problems in Overwatch 1 was loot boxes. Loot boxes are virtual mystery boxes you get for playing the game. So they'll set a standard like you got to win 3 games. And when you win 3 games, you get a loot box. And you open the loot box and it's a random generator and you get a random item. And all the items you could get in these old loot boxes would be just cosmetics. So you could get new outfits for your character to wear, you could get new voice lines. It was all cosmetic changes that didn't really give you an advantage. It just made your character unique. Loot boxes are somewhat predatory because they give the option for people to buy them with real money. So people that wanted to get like all the skins and stuff, they could pay real money to get the loot boxes. But as somebody who played the game, usually if you wanted one of the legendary skins, if you played for a weekend, if you played for a good solid weekend, you could usually either get the skin or earn enough coins to get the skin. So I didn't really feel too much pressure to buy loot boxes. I very much feel it was a optional thing in Overwatch 1. But what came next was much more greedy. Earlier this year, Overwatch 2 was announced.
Hello, heroes of Overwatch. The team has been making great progress on the development of Overwatch 2. Daily playtests and feedback have given us confidence that we're creating something you're going to love. I want to thank our players for your continued support. We recognize we haven't communicated well, haven't kept you up to date, and honestly, we've let you down when it comes to delivering Overwatch content. We hear you, and we're committed to more continual updates on all things Overwatch 2 This starts with my update to you today. Based on your feedback, we've taken some time to rethink Overwatch 2 with the singular goal of ensuring it is a living game, serving our players with exciting content on a regular basis. And we are shifting our plan for Overwatch 2 to enable you to play it sooner. This starts with us decoupling the PvP features of the game from the PvE systems so we can bring you PvP sooner. This includes the new 5v5 team format, new heroes, new maps, the new push game mode, significant hero updates and reworks, and many new gameplay features, including, for example, a new ping system. When you put it all together, this represents the most new content we have brought to our game since launch. This is going to be an exciting year for Overwatch, and we're looking forward to taking this journey together. Thank you for your dedication, your passion, and your patience. I can't wait to see players in our alpha and future beta builds, and of course, the entire team can't wait to get Overwatch 2 in your hands. Thanks for watching, be good to each other, and we'll talk soon.
Overwatch 2 was pitched as a brand new evolution of Overwatch. And it's not only a sequel, when it came out, it deleted the old version of Overwatch, and it left Overwatch 2 as the only option you can play. So you can't even go back and play the old one. And like I said, it was pitched to be a brand new game of Overwatch, but when the dust settled, the game was mostly the same with a few minor tweaks. The major change was the company restructuring the game to get much more money out of fans. Overwatch went free to play. Right now, you can play the game for free. So you no longer had to pay that $60 upfront cost. This seems like a generous offer, but really Blizzard is playing the long game. They knew they would lose old players with the incoming changes of greed, so they needed new ones, and they knew only wealthy people would be able to afford the new Overwatch style. So they needed a bigger school of fish to prey upon to find the whales within willing to spend big bucks on the game. And whales is a gaming term. They're the 1%. They're the people who spend thousands of dollars on video games so they can have an advantage. And Blizzard was after the whales.
You see this all the time as well in like sports games and things like that. Like you know how there's like all the Madden games and NBA games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're annual releases, and they pretty much wipe everything that you have when the new one comes out and then shut the servers down pretty soon. So if you want to keep playing the game, you have to buy the new one and then do all that shit all over again. And they just make money from the word you said, whales.
Loot boxes went away and they were replaced with something called a battle pass. A battle pass is like a virtual pathway. Each step on that pathway is something new you can unlock. So you play the game for a little bit and it'll say you've earned a new step on this pathway. And you can get a skin or you can get a voice line and a whole bunch of things. In old Overwatch, it was all cosmetic stuff. It was just costume changes and it was just voice lines. But in Overwatch 2, they put the brand new heroes, the brand new playable characters on this road. And they put them near the end of the track, so you would have to invest time to get to them. Imagine you're playing any game and you can pay to have an advantage. That's what these new heroes are like. When these heroes were introduced, they were overpowered sort of from the start, sort of by design. All new heroes in Overwatch sort of start off as overpowered as they premiere, but usually they're quickly adjusted as like the game designers tweak how much damage they can do and how much health they have, balancing them. But with this new one, and this is just my opinion, it seems like they're keeping the brand new overpowered heroes that you could only learn by doing this battle pass overpowered.
Which is brutal because Overwatch League is a huge esports arena, right? The teams that play in Overwatch League have no reason to kick back against something like this in the meta because they have roles assigned. They're the people that are going to put in to play whatever works right now. So it's just like, this is just the way it is. People want to play what they see the pros playing, and the pros are just going to pay to do it.
the Overwatch League prize pool, the two smaller games were $330,000 apiece.
What the
Mid-season
fuck?
game was $1 million for total prizes, and $2.55 million for the postseason global game, with the first place player getting $1 million.
Fuck.
Overwatch League does not fuck around, guys.
Now the battle pass already sounds as sort of annoying. They put what you want near the end of the track. They put things that'll help you win the game on the track instead of just cosmetic items like before. But it gets a little bit worse. What I didn't tell you is only about 1/3 of the items on this path are available for free. So you can earn these new spots on the battle pass, but it'll just say for 2/3 of them for premium members only. So you earn your spot going up the path by playing the game, but you don't get the reward. They want you to pay again to get the reward. So in order to get the premium things, you need to pay $10 each battle pass. Each battle pass season lasts 9 weeks. And if you don't get the things on that battle pass by the end of those 9 weeks, you miss out, including the new overpowered heroes. And again, it's the old trend. Blizzard either wants your time or your money. If you play the game a whole fuckload, it looks good to them. They have more users playing the game. It looks good on when they report to their stockholders that they have X amount of continuous players, or they want your money. Just to give you an idea of how much a time investment is, to get to the end of the battle pass, you would need to play about 10 to 20 hours a week for the entire 9 weeks to complete the battle pass. That's a part-time job playing Overwatch.
Good God. Like, every day I get on my knees and I pray to God and I thank him for not making me an Overwatch fan.
For $60, which was the price of Overwatch 1 you paid at the front, you paid about $10 a year for those 6 years of gameplay that Overwatch 1 was active. And you had access to all the extra content and heroes. For the same access in Overwatch 2, with multiple Battle Pass seasons happening a year, it would cost $57 a year rather than $10, so it's already more expensive per year. They also made free ways to buy what you want much harder. So like I said before, it would take maybe a weekend, maybe 10, 12 hours of playing to earn a premium skin in Overwatch 1. Well, I did the math. It would take about 320 hours of playing in Overwatch 2 to earn the same skin.
Fuck.
And many people ran into the same problem. They didn't have time to play Overwatch 20 hours a week, but they still wanted all the items on the Battle Pass, including the new heroes, because if they didn't get it in the season, they would miss out. Blizzard gave people a solution to the problem they created by making an option for them to just buy the in-game currency. So you can buy these coins, just buy things on the Battle Pass instead of earning them. You don't have to play the game 20 hours a week, you just buy them. But of course they're expensive as fuck, and they're also priced manipulatively.
I think you got that.
A premium skin is listed at $26 of in-game coins.
Fuck, man.
It gets worse. The store that sells the in-game currency only sells it in $20 increments. So in reality, you need to spend $40 to get enough coins to buy the $26 skin. See how they fuck you with nickels and dimes?
We have the exact same problem though, because me and Ood every now and then play Fallout 76 because we're fake gamers and we're trash. But they do the exact same thing with the Atom Shop. It's pretty common in games with these types of shops, eh?
Oh yeah, you can buy 800 Atom credits for however much, but all the things that they know you want cost 900. You know.
Yeah. So you're just topping yourself up to try to get that next thing, or you have to outright buy it twice. That happens to me all the time.
Now, I did the math on my old Overwatch account. I counted all the legendary cosmetics I earned, and I counted all the new heroes that premiered while I was playing. I only had to pay the $60 at the front to buy the game, and I spent about 300 hours playing that game to earn all the skins I had and to get all the new heroes for free. To get the same skins and heroes in Overwatch 1, if I were to do the same thing over again, I would either need to play for 7,000 hours to earn them, or I'd have to pay $2,500 in real money to buy them.
Holy shit, man.
$2,500? What the fuck?
Yeah. When I say they've gotten greedy, it's orders of magnitude. Like, it took me 300 hours to earn that stuff. 300 hours over 4 years.
Yeah, 300 hours. That's like usually the time you put into a game that you like. Like, I think I've got that in Elden Ring.
I don't even know if I broke 300 hours in Final Fantasy XIV before I benched it, and I loved that game.
And I don't think Blizzard expects people to spend 7,000 hours playing to earn the skins, so they give them the easy out. Hey, you can pay for it if you want it. You know, if you want the new heroes, if you want the premium skins to look unique, you gotta pay.
Go get your dad's credit card.
But really, let's take a step back here. The greedy behavior I just described has become pretty common in the gaming industry. Many companies participate in this level of greed or worse, but that's why this section is only an introduction to Blizzard Entertainment. It only gets worse from here. A little worse than corporate greed is Blizzard pandering as a company to progressives and LGBT people. If it was authentic, that would be one thing. But based on what we'll hear later, it just seems like Blizzard is trying to market itself as an inclusive progressive company to earn money and then internally not act like that at all. I think, Poppy, you got this section.
All right, let's go. A lot of what I'm mentioning and talking about here, it was released in the media between almost all these points Ood was talking about and is going to be talking about.
Just a whole mess of shit happens in a row. So the stuff that Bray is talking about is happening while lawsuits are going forward and while Blizzard is being torched in the press.
Essentially, it's when the stories are coming out, they decide to make a dumb little story to try and get rid of the negative attention.
Yeah.
During Activision Blizzard being ass-blasted for these shenanigans, you're going to hear a lot about them doing some damage control. Most of these were quote-unquote leaks about Overwatch 2. But a lot of these were empty gestures, soulless, pandering, and pretty fucking cringe. Want to know what Overwatch character has autism, follows every single stereotype? Yes, you do. Do you want the rapacious cowboy to have a different name?
Holy fuck.
Yep, I bet you do. And how about removing anything resembling a Z from a Russian character?
Oh my god.
Fuck yes, based Activision. That's what they thought would happen anyway.
Supporting people with autism? Fucking great. Changing names to be less problematic? I'm in support of that. There's lots of sports teams with racist names out there. If they were authentic, this would be totally cool, but they're hypocrites because inside the company they weren't supporting these people, only from the outside. It has the same energy as Trump holding up the gay pride flag and hopefully this gets a few gays on my side, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like that kind of meme. So if you're a fan of Overwatch, which I got to point out, I'm not. I think the game's kind of shit, but the famous iconic cowboy character of Cole Cassidy, formerly known as McCree.
Jesse McCree. Been a while. You promised you'd write.
Well, Ash. I've been kind of busy.
McCree was originally named after game dev and Bill Cosby enthusiast Jesse McCree. McCree was a lead level designer at Blizzard since 2005. You guys listening at home, take a shot every single time I say McCree.
There's 2 flights of stairs between me and bed, but Jackie D is here and I'm willing to sacrifice to the McCree gods.
Let's go. McCree was originally named after game dev and Bill Cosby enthusiast Jesse McCree. McCree was lead level designer at Blizzard since 2005, mostly known for his work on the Diablo series. McCree's picture of him with the infamous Cosby suite, which Erd will talk about after I finish rambling, as well as several allegations were shared all over the internet and to various journos during the lawsuit of Blizzard. And to attempt to save face, he was fired and the character of McCree was changed to Cole Cassidy, in a kind of sweep it under the rug kind of way. This was obvious to anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together. This was an empty gesture which kind of meant fuck all. It was met with negative reception, both people shitting their nappies about woke culture and people critical of the frat boy culture alike. So in the end, nobody wins because whether or not this guy was a cunt, McCree is kind of a cool name for a gun-slinging cowboy, and that's my main takeaway.
Who the fuck is that? This is some sort of... Wait, what is that? That's some sort of hoax, man. Huh? It's real. Cole Cassidy? Who the fuck is that? Okay. Ain't nobody's gonna ever use that name. Guys, watch out behind it. Watch out, high ground behind it. Cole is gonna ult him. Guys, Cole one shot. Guys, we're gonna use nano coal. Nano coal.
This dude that the cowboy was named after, internally, he had lots of reports of harassment leveled against him, but Blizzard never really did anything significant about this.
No, they changed the name. It's okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't until shit went public they were like, oh, this is shameful. You know what? We're going to change the name of the cowboy to show we're real sorry.
I'll maybe just tell this anecdote now because it's related to removing McCree and how Blizzard handles this sort of thing. Alex Efrasabi, yeah, he got caught up in the same thing, similar sort of thing we'll get into later. There was a character in World of Warcraft in the Alliance, one of the main faction cities, and people were ganging up, were so disgusted with the behavior that they were ganging up around this character and using the spit emoji on him and allowing the Horde into Stormwind unchallenged to murderize this character and spit on his corpse.
Oh,
that's fucking awesome.
I never saw it personally because I was playing Horde at the time. I didn't bother. Blizzard's response allegedly was to remove this NPC from the game and you can no longer use the /spit emoji.
I was about to say, knowing them, I'm assuming they took away the spit emoji, but then you said, yeah, they got rid of the character and the spit emote, so
you can no longer
kind of like sideswipe me.
Their response was, you're not allowed to spit anymore. Instead of
spit on a rapist?
Anything else. Yeah. So anyways, that's a thing. Fuck your spit emoji. How dare you spit on this man?
All right, so Alex Afrasabi's references have been removed from World of Warcraft. This was covered in the letter from Team 2. So yeah, there's Frasabi's axe in Dire Maul. All Frasabi references in Stratholme are gone. All the references to Führer, which was his character name in EverQuest, those are gone. Field Marshal Afrasabi is gone. Lord Afrastraz is gone. Pathstalker Karyl is, I don't know what Karyl is, but anyway, that's gone.
Karyl was his character name in another game. Yep.
Man, I don't know. The whole like references to people in game, I never liked that anyway because that's my opinion's always just been like, why am I thinking about a game developer? I'm playing World of Warcraft.
Alex Afrasabi, you can /spit. Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm playing World of Warcraft while we're shitting on Blizzard. Let me see if... Hold on, I'm going to /say. I'm really sorry. I just need to test if this works.
I gotta be honest, if I was in an MMO and someone came up to me and did that, I would fucking shit myself.
No, I can't spit on them anymore.
Bruh.
Disappointing.
There's a specific picture from a year ago of a guy saying he keeps phasing in and out, but I managed to /spit on him before they remove his NPC, and it's a dude standing in front of Field Marshal Afrasabi and says, "You spit on Field Marshal Afrasabi."
Let's go. Now we're all familiar with the term rainbow capitalism, basically promoting pride themes while doing fuck all to help LGBT people. We all meme on corporations switching to a rainbow logo on Pride Month. Except for places like Russia and the Middle East, and then switching back immediately as it hits midnight on July 1st. Of course, believe it or not, Blizzard's in there too.
Oh my god.
One of his main points is peddling merch with their logo for rainbow design, while trans and gay employees are forced to be quiet about their identities since their co-workers complain about, quote-unquote, SJWs, alphabet people, and how trans people just want to feel special. Many LGBT members of the Blizzard team say they had to, quote, make numerous personal sacrifices for their careers. For some, that meant not coming out at all and enduring harassment in silence. While this is common in a lot of game dev companies, sadly it's just another in the list of Blizz being hypocritical ballbags while trying to profit off being massive fucking hypocrites.
Yeah, like they come in and say, hey, you know what? Tracer has a girlfriend. Tracer's gay. And you know what? Soldier 76, he has a boyfriend and he used to have a wife. So we have a bi Soldier 76. Meanwhile, internally...
That's happening behind the scenes, yeah.
Yeah, and meanwhile, there's their own gay and bi and LGBT members inside the company are being harassed. And when it's reported, they ignore the reports.
Well, imagine, like, being in a place to work. I mean, like, I'm not gay or trans, so I can't really imagine this as much, but not being able to come out and be who you actually are because you're scared of every single person that you work with just fucking turning on you. That's actually scuffed.
Yeah, it's a shitty deal having that fear.
Yeah. Another small meaningless gesture that Activision Blizzard has done in recent times leading up to launch of Overwatch 2 was removing the Z from a Russian character Zarya's skins. Not sure if anyone's heard this yet, but Russia are being a little edgy lately in Ukraine.
What? Really?
Yeah, they're up to a couple of shenanigans. They're doing a little bit of trolling. One symbol often used is a big zesty Z, often adorning Russian military vehicles, appearing in pro-Putin propaganda. Mass censorship and flagging of the symbol began worldwide as mass outcry began against the invasion of Ukraine, and obviously Blizzy wanted some of that cheddar. With the character Zarya, these Zs were always part of her skins, reference to her initial, and had nothing to do with the war. Honestly, I doubt anyone would have even noticed them.
Yeah.
But of course, more allegations and news stories came out about Blizzard, and they wanted their good boy points. They made sure everyone knew they were fixing their character designs because they're such good dudes. Yeah, we can all agree, right?
They always make a big deal out of these changes that they make. It's the progressive equivalent of, TikTokers that film themselves giving food to homeless people, but when they're not filming themselves, they don't do any type of help to the homeless people.
Blizzard has a horrific story come out and they leak or announce small meaningless things like this to try to deflect some of the stories or capture their name when it's on the Twitter algorithm for snatching Barbara's titty milk from the office fridge.
That's not a euphemism. We're going to talk about that later.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if her name's Barbara, though. All right, this is a topic I've been pretty keen to talk about. The diversity calculator. I lovingly named this the Blizzy Racism Computer. Blizzy themselves call it the Blizzard Diversity Chart, which is a tool supposedly designed to create the most diverse characters possible by looking at their culture, race, age, cognitive ability, physical ability, body type, facial features, beauty, gender identity, and sexual orientation, and socio-economic backgrounds. It's very dystopian to, design a character and then make sure they hit all those beats.
Yeah, I've found the best way to be non-racist or, shitty to people is
racial profiling?
Yeah, profile them, assign them numbers, and then you can tell what they are by that.
Yeah, that's literally it.
You have 63 diversity points. Congratulations, you diverse person. I am very warm and understanding.
Please enter the train to go to diversity camp number 4.
So we run into this problem all the time with engineering education, right? So as part of
computers,
honestly, as part of my training as an academic, I have spent just a lot of time real worried about how we teach. And we see this a lot with things like indigenization initiatives here in Canada in STEM fields, is that somebody really well-meaning is like, we need to do something about this because obviously, right? And then none of us are humanists, where it's a room full of fucking science nerds, right? Which has been dominated by white wasp men forever in the Western world. So it's like, yes, we're going to do something about EDI. And whether or not we intend to, we're going to make metrics. And we're used to having all the answers. So we're going to make a chart. We're going to make an algorithm.
Oh, no.
We're going to make something quantitative that will tell us how good we're doing. And we're going to do things based on that metric that we've derived with no input from any of the people in the minorities we're thinking of. And then when they're like, wow, you're not actually doing anything, we can be like, but look at this number I made that tells me how good I'm doing.
Johnson, I've run the numbers 4 times. We are 98% not racist. It's right there.
Absolutely. And this stuff
and your employee's race has 5 racism points.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but if I told my students to come up with an EDI plan and you told me that they made a how do we make characters less racist fucking Gantt chart or test matrix, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks.
What do you mean we're doing systemic racism in our company? We have our diversity hire. Mark, he's over there.
We ran the numbers on Mark and he ticks a lot of boxes for us, and that's as much as we thought about it. So
he's actually a Cherokee princess, so we're doing real good.
This sounds like anybody in tech to me. We're you want us to talk to people?
I'm genuinely upset that this is apparently common.
Oh, dude, you want us to talk to people and listen to their needs and act on it in ways that would make us uncomfortable, inconvenience us, or cost us money? What if we just made a nice chart?
But it's okay though, because I have a computer.
It's a complete lack of perspective. And it's like, we're smart, therefore we have to have all the answers. And this is just another problem to solve. But you can't deal with issues of EDI the same way that you deal with a bug in your game.
Yeah.
But don't tell them that.
So let's get into it, guys. How these points work is really, really fucking bizarre. So for a gender identity of a male character, they get 0 points, right? Quote unquote, everything else is worth 3 points.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so all the women characters, they'll get 3 gender diversity points, right? And the non-binary character, which is a fucking robot, also gets 3. The robot's non-binary. He gets 3 points.
Do robots give a fuck about sexuality? I don't know.
It's exactly like Merg was saying. I see exactly what they're trying to do. Like, oh, hey, we have way too many white dudes as protagonists. Let's just, we'll just weight anything that isn't a white dude over that without the realization that saying that just makes white dude normal and everyone else more points.
Listen, we're full up to the brim on characters that have under 20 diversity points. We need to get at least 40 plus diversity points for new characters.
They get more. They get the higher number. It's better. This is kind of wacky. So there's males who get 0 points. Everything else gets 3 points. Apparently, in this chart, if you're a female who then transitions to a male, you go back to 0 points somehow.
The fuck?
Yep, not diverse anymore.
Yeah. You become male protagonists. It's bad.
Like in any other setting, that would be kind of based, right? Like, but just for fuck's sake,
it is the weirdest fucking thing. But my god, I had to talk about this. I had to hijack this part. You thought just mentioning gender was fun, right? So, who wants to gather around and start rating people based on their ethnicities?
Why would? Oh my god!
You guys sound hyped.
Let's go. Why the fuck would you? Why would you ever do that?
Oh, I don't know.
For diversity, Merg.
Yeah, it's for diversity, so we can be inclusive.
We assigned 3 bits.
Okay, so I found a leaked document of how this rating system works, right? And how they've assigned it to certain characters. Okay, so. For 7 points, two of the characters are from Nigeria and India. That's worth 7 diversity points, you guys. Okay. Now, 6 points. Oh my god, I'm really doing a fucking tier list of people's races.
No! We're tierless Andes, no!
You can pass the blame on to Blizzard. We're just reporting.
Yeah, we're just being a mouthpiece. Okay, at 6 points, we have characters who are from Korea, Japan, China, and the Middle East. 6 points. For 3 racial diversity points, we have Caucasian characters from Europe, Australia, Russia, and for some reason, Mexicans.
What?
Why
for some reason.
Why the fuck are Europeans worth diversity points?
I don't know. But I'm going to say Australia, that probably counts as me as well, because I'm assuming Blizzard doesn't know what New Zealand is. So... For some reason,
Mexicans get lumped in with.
I don't know, but that's one thing I'm going to point out. For some reason, me, a fucking white dude with a funny accent, I have as many diversity points as a Mexican.
Jesus, first the Spanish, then the ongoing wars of conquest. Now the Mexicans, they're just white according to Blizzard. Holy
yeah, I remember 45, who shall not be named, famously trying to victimize the Australian continent. One of his major foreign policies, he was going to build a wall fucking right across the Pacific.
Didn't even have to. Brits got there early.
So anyway, back to racial profiling. People who get 0 points, okay? They have no diversity. They're shit. They suck. They have no place in Overwatch. Now, bottom 0 points, we have white Americans, British people, for some reason, Hispanic Americans. Blizzard has something against Mexicans and Latinos for some reason.
Do they know where a lot of the Latino people in America come from? It's Mexico.
What?
I don't understand.
Yeah, but 0 points. We got Caucasian Americans, British people, Hispanic Americans for some reason. Like I said, I think there's also the talking monkey and the robot.
Oh, it's good, I guess. Maybe if all for the talking monkey and the robot. Maybe hit the point. The rest.
Yeah, I don't know what they're grading this on or anything. It's bizarre.
I'm okay with quantifying monkeys and robots, but as soon as they start applying this point system to human goddamn beings, that's when my skin starts to crawl.
Right. And so I'm struggling with this a little bit because, like, as a company that peddles sci-fi and fantasy, where the fuck does a troll, a 8-foot humanoid with tusks and a Jamaican accent, fit on that scale?
These are scores telling every detail in each of these areas for every character, and if I went through all of them, we'll be here all fucking day. Another podcast I listened to, Castle Super Beast, with Willie Madden and Pat Bovin, who used to be super best friends, talked about this in a lot more detail since their show goes on for 3 hours usually. I recommend just search, Castle Super Beast diversity, and they go deep into this.
I'll cut up a summary of what they get to.
Is there a chance you guys listening familiar with Super Best Friends?
No.
One of the guys is Pat. He's like, short, ginger, and quite chubby. And then Willie's like a big black dude with dreadlocks and whatnot. So they put in the points. They went all the extra yards. Somehow Pat, the ginger dude, has more diversity points than Willie. So we know this thing's flawless.
What the fuck?
But let's just do it. Fictional ethnicities are more diverse than real ones.
Yes, naturally, of course.
The whites have been separated according to how familiar the team is with them,
right,
being Brits and Americans. And robot and monkey person fail, despite those being not common ethnicities. Robot is not a common ethnicity, which is extra weird because the other two robots max out the scale.
So
that's weird.
So the initial theory of points are entirely based on distance from Irvine, California is 100% confirmed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into nationality. Now, this is, it's not ethnicity. It's your country of origin, right? S for nationality. Japan, China, Sweden, Nigeria, Australia, India, France, Russia. So no real consistency here, because you have like Sweden and Australia. Australia is an S rank for weirdo nationality. Okay? But what's wild is that sitting down at A tier, below all of them, below every other Asian country, at B is Korea. Because of StarCraft. Because Koreans are more familiar
to
Blizzard.
Oh, yeah, we knew a bunch of you guys. That ain't special.
Okay, the gender tier list. There are only 2 scores.
Yes.
There's S and F.
Okay.
S contains everything other than men.
Yes.
And F is men.
Correct. Yes. Okay. 3 points or 0.
Are men diverse? No. Then there's all the other ones.
Got it.
Like, that's how I see this being written down. Are they a guy or are they one of the other ones? The funniest thing is that the 2 that are listed are non-binary and women, which means that if you're a binary woman or a non-binary male, you have the same score. But a binary woman is the same level of diversity as a non-binary woman, which is okay because they're just not a guy. It's a mess. It's literally the guys in the office and the other ones.
Yeah, it's the outlier. Yeah, correct. Right. Checks out.
All right.
Checks out.
Disability. This is the most confusing by far. By far. Okay. At S.
Ooh, those are big. Those are big points.
Okay, at S with 8 points is Torbjorn for robot eye and robot arm. Significantly disabled.
That's a huge point.
Doomfist has a big robot arm at 7 points, But Symmetra's autism also classifies her as disabled as having a missing limb, but not having 2 missing limbs. Gets even weirder because at B with 6 points is Genji, who's a full cyborg.
The entire body. Having 1 is more points than having your entire body replaced as a cyborg.
Okay. C has 5 points with missing 1 eye as Ana. Radiation exposure at D with Roadhog. And then the most confusing one, peg leg and robot arm, is an F for Junkrat. Junkrat has the least usable limbs of any Overwatch character and is being labeled as significantly less disabled than a lady with autism.
But also radiation exposure?
He has a peg leg! He has a peg leg! For fuck's sake!
Is, like, radiation exposure is 4 points?
Yeah.
Is that manifested in any, like...
I'm shrugging. And you have body type. S rank at 10 points. This is the highest thing you can get in the whole chart. Is body type of robot, centaur, or gorilla.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
Those are diverse body types.
Fuck all the cowards.
Having
That's
a
what it's
gorilla
about.
body or a
Robot
full
centaur.
non-humanoid.
Hell yeah. 10
Sure.
points.
Okay.
Let's get it.
A for body type is stout, overweight, peg leg, and muscular women. So fat guys and buff ladies together at 6 points.
How buff, though?
Very buff.
Very buff.
So like Zarya buff.
Yes.
At B with 3 points is slightly muscular woman or not slim and curvy, which is just May.
You lose 3 points for not being buff enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And then down at 0 is traditionally sexy, curvy female body type. And as is the nature with this chart, incredibly bizarrely, Bastion's robotic tank body is hitting a 0 points for body type diversity.
If Bastion had 4 legs in tank mode, that would be a 10.
They would be the most bodily diverse. But as they have treads, and treads are a common body type feature amongst humans.
That's a 0.
They actually have no concept. Like
Pretty
this
much.
is they're demonstrating not just ignorance, right? Not just soulless evil, but like that kind of like you might mean well, but you actually have no
I don't.
If anybody means well, it's not just a question of intent. It's actually you have no fucking idea
Pretty much
how to interact with people and celebrate and fold in your differences into making a game or set of games or company culture that appeals to everybody. This is just you're kind of dumb and you won't do the first thing that dumb people should do, which is admit they're dumb and ask for help.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of the articles I was looking into for this, they all said they would have just been better off, reaching out and actually hiring diverse people. But you were talking about before, Meg. They just thought they could AI it.
White high IQ people love to think that we have the answers. It's just like we have the answer for every question, and diversity is just another problem we can solve, and we'll solve it ourselves because we're so smart. Most insane hubris.
Yeah. Also, all these stories about the racism computer were launched when Blizzard was being investigated, and stories are coming about them, crushing unions. But it's a coincidence. Don't look into it.
I said things were going to get progressively worse. Gaming companies being greedy, it's not right, but it's kind of run of the mill. It's kind of what's expected. It's not necessarily morally wrong. And maybe the extra money is even warranted if it gets funneled to the artists. gaming companies full of rich white dudes in executive positions being out of touch and pandering and creating dumb, hollow racism calculators? Like, out of touch, offensive, like perpetuate stereotypes. But again, there's a lot of examples of that in the gaming industry. But now I'm going to start to get into the stuff that makes Blizzard sort of uniquely bad. I'm going to start to talk about the poor working conditions of the people who make these games.
I can't wait.
July 2021. Blizzard was already in the middle of an abuse controversy that we'll talk about a little bit later. And the CEO of Blizzard, Bobby Kotick, was doing damage control. He made a public statement addressed to employees with quotes such as, "Every voice matters, and we will do a better job of listening now and in the future. There is no place at our company for discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment of any kind." Now, as we'll learn later, not only do those words ring hollow, but it seems probable that Blizzard used this controversy as an excuse to do some union busting. Because later in the letter, they reveal that they hired a law firm to help keep them accountable to make sure that they followed through on their promises to eliminate discrimination. They hired the law firm WilmerHale. They specialize in union busting. This is the same law firm that's been hired by Amazon to attempt to bust all their unions.
Doesn't Amazon just straight up use the Pinkertons, though?
Aren't these the guys that are direct descendants of the Pinkertons, or are the Pinkertons still operating under that name?
Oh no, the actual Pinkertons.
It's sort of like coming at it from two sides. WilmerHale, the law firm, will tell Blizzard what they're legally allowed to do to bust unions. And then they may hire a descendant of the Pinkerton company to enact some of those measures. So the lawyers from this law firm basically give them legal advice of here's how you can fuck a union up in your company legally.
On fucking Twitter, I found the actual Pinkertons Twitter page, and it was during Pride Month. They had a fucking Pride flag.
Yeah.
The fucking Pinkertons did?
The fucking Pinkertons.
Oh my god.
I thought it was the funniest shit.
A fun game for our listeners. Try to figure out how we all feel about the Pinkertons.
What's the Pinkertons?
They killed Arthur Morgan.
Founded 1850 in Chicago by a guy called Alan Pinkerton, detective agency and security guard, always hired for union busting jobs, and they work with the current place called WilmerHale. The deputy general counsel of WilmerHale is a guy called Brooke Pinkerton, descended from the original Pinkertons, and Amazon uses both WilmerHale and the Pinkerton agency, as well as Blizzard Activision uses WilmerHale and Pinkertons.
To make a long story short, they were a company that emerged, literally used lethal violence to quell workers striking. That's where they started, and through the years, I don't think they're outright killing people anymore, but they're still serving as security and goons and enforcers.
I think they're doing very heavy-handed things, allegedly, on Minecraft. Yeah.
And I think the Pinkertons outside union busting were general fix-its for early corporate America. They have quite a bit of portrayal in media.
There's a whole episode you could do on the Pinkertons.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised you guys haven't done an episode on the Pinkertons yet.
Oh, there's a list of 300 things that we gotta do it, and eventually.
Their initial tagline was, "We never sleep."
Really hardcore guys.
That's unhealthy.
During this episode, I'm gonna attempt to speak to the intentions of Blizzard executive, but this is just my opinion, man, based on what I'm figuring. So WilmerHale publicly states that they are a law firm that trains workers on union awareness and avoidance. They're very open about the fact that they're an anti-union law firm. So the fact that Blizzard decided to name them in their letter to employees saying that everything would be all right sort of implies that they don't think their employees are going to be smart enough to figure it out, or they don't care. What supports this is a collection of reports from Blizzard insiders. They detail that they were under surveillance, and if workers' rights, wages, and working conditions were talked about, either out loud or electronically, managers always seemed fast to intervene, interrogate, and threaten to those involved in those discussions. Sometimes they didn't know how the managers overheard. This started to become like a bit of a paranoia that they're surveilling us or they've installed devices to overhear us, because whenever we talk about workers' rights, suddenly they show up real quick.
Welcome. We're excited to have you at this training, specifically designed to give you the tools that you need for success when it comes to labor organizing. We are not anti-union, but we are not neutral either. We will boldly defend our direct relationship with associates as best for the associate, the business, and our shareholders. We do not believe unions are in the best interest of our customers, our shareholders, or most importantly, our associates. Our business model is built upon speed, innovation, and customer obsession, things that are generally not associated with unions. When we lose sight of those critical focus areas, we jeopardize everyone's job security. We don't badmouth unions in general, but we will speak openly with associates about unions, including any specific concerns about particular unions involved in organizing. You will learn about the warning signs most commonly associated with early union organizing, as well as other warning signs that could indicate associate disengagement, vulnerability to organizing, or early organizing activity. While employees have the right to organize, we have a right and responsibility to share our position that a direct working relationship is better for the customer, the company, and the associate. In order to be able to do that effectively, it is critical that we recognize the early warning signs of potential organizing and escalate concerns promptly. If you see warning signs of potential organizing, notify your building HRM and GM site leader immediately. The most obvious signs would include use of words associated with unions or union-led movements like living wage or steward, petitions or other concerted activity such as an associate purporting to speak on behalf of his or her coworkers when raising concerns, union graffiti, union t-shirts, hats, jackets, or other clothing, union flyers, and union visitors in or near the parking lot. Some signs are less obvious than finding the actual union flyer, but they can still indicate associate disengagement, which is itself a warning sign for potential organizing. Examples include associates who normally aren't connected to each other suddenly hanging out together, associates who were close suddenly stop speaking to each other, groups of associates scatter when approached by management, increased associate negativity, anger, or confrontation, unusual complaints or change in passion or detail around complaints, unusual interest in policies, benefits, employee lists, or other company information, or any other associate behavior that is out of character. For example, an associate who normally leaves promptly begins hanging out in the break room for an hour after work each day. In order to recognize warning signs, it is critical that you know what an associate's normal behavior looks like.
Now, why were the employees on the verge of forming a union in 2021? Likely due to the many reported examples of poor working conditions. Quality assurance workers test games for flaws and glitches.
Glitches and highs.
Yeah. And these quality assurance workers often need to work hundreds of hours to root out every problem a game has. The job is hard enough on its own, but Blizzard made a habit of using and burning out these employees like clockwork. The quality assurance people at Blizzard were employed under very short-term contracts that led them to work 10, 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day without a day off for months on end. This is work where you have to pay attention constantly. You have to solve a certain amount of problems per hour or you get fired. It's very hard and demanding work.
Yeah, I've seen what QA people do, and it seems like the most mind-numbing fucking shit you could ever imagine. Like, have a character walk into a wall at different angles until it breaks type of thing.
And these contracts offered no benefits and also no job security, as the contracts often only lasted long enough to finish the current project. So they didn't hire quality assurance people as employees. They said, it's going to take 3 months to root out these bugs, so we're going to hire these guys without benefits for a 3-month contract, and then they'll be gone again. You're pressured to work all these days in a row. So say you're one of these people. You've been working 30 days in a row, 16 hours a day. You asked your manager for a couple days off. You're burnt out as fuck. You need to recover. He's going to make a little note of that. This is according to what insiders report. He's going to make a little note of that, and the next time Blizzard needs to renew contracts, they're just not going to include yours because you're one of the people that take personal time for themselves to recover from work. We don't need that kind of stuff at Blizzard. We want people who will work like robots without complaining,
Honestly, we don't need that poor work ethic around here.
If you're one of those bootlickers who's going to come at us and be like, that's just how things get made, you don't understand. I'm telling you categorically, that's not the only way these things happen. Don't have this argument. You're wrong. It doesn't have to be that way. I'll fight you.
This is a threat.
Yeah. This is a threat. This isn't a joke. My boss is safe. You are not.
This is not on Minecraft.
Fuck your Christian Minecraft server.
What?
I will side hug every NPC. And so this is just me looking at an average, and then the other number I'm going to present is based on the 15 quality assurance people that came forward to give reports for the lawsuit. The average quality assurance tester in California is paid around $31 an hour. For these 15 people that came forward, Blizzard was about $12 an hour. So less than half of the going rate.
What the fuck?
And Blizzard was kind of predatory about it. Like, from what I read, they would pursue people who were new to the industry or just new to the area, and they would hire them first. Because new people to the industry, they don't necessarily know what they're worth, and they don't necessarily have, like, the confidence to defend themselves or stand up for their own rights. And Blizzard would take advantage of that by working the fuck out of them for a reduced pay, and under the guise that, you know, you're working for Blizzard, you're going to have a good thing on your resume, and all that shit.
Jesus.
I hate this.
And quality assurance wasn't the only ones that were underpaid. Even non-contract Blizzard employees that were actual employees of the company were underpaid when compared to the same jobs at other companies in their industry. And this was especially true for any women employees, as the lawsuit lays out. The lawsuit literally states that all women at all levels were systematically paid less than men in the same position. In almost every case they looked at, with equal qualifications and experience, like all variables corrected, women were systematically paid less. From what I read, there's lots of different numbers flying around, lots of different speculation, but some of the numbers I'm looking at, it wasn't like 5% less. It was like 40, 50% less.
There's no gender wage gap unless we fucking make one. There is a gender wage gap, just saying.
The glass ceiling is real. Shut up, you bootlicking fuck. Sorry, continue.
We need side jokes. This is going to be a rough episode.
I've got penis music.
Why does penis music hit me in the heart so hard?
Because it's extremely long and you're a taker.
Fun fact, there's an entire
Let's go.
circle of hell where it is just penis music.
It doesn't sound like hell to me.
It's, hell for some, heaven for others, like usual.
So, along with the low pay and being generally overworked, a toxic work environment was also present.
I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of Victoria's Secret's catalog.
What do you mean?
Wait. Which catalog would you like them to step out
of? Could you see Sylvanas looking any other way? Right. So we feel you, and we want to vary our female characters absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick different catalogs.
Hey, Alex, what catalog is that Tauran female coming out of?
Not one you'd read.
Yeah, sexy cow business.
Thank you.
A frat boy working culture was described by many who came forward. Staff would describe regular events of being yelled at, disrespected, threatened, sexually harassed, sexually abused, and blackmailed. So while pandering to the progressive crowd with diverse characters, complaints of homophobia, racism, and sexism within the company went unaddressed and ignored. While employees worked hard under tight deadlines, Blizzard managers and executives would drink at work, often to the point of intoxication, and they would go on walking, loud, crude, quote-unquote pub crawls around the workplace. The reports say they would visit employees at their cubicles, make fun of them, make sexual jokes, ask inappropriate questions, comment on their bodies, like steal their stuff, do dumb pranks. While these employees were working hard under conditions that demanded too much of them for the pay and time they were allotted, their managers and executives were using them as entertainment while they were drunk.
Sounds like they need a union.
Just fucking using those toys.
And speaking of a frat boy atmosphere, not even the breast milk was safe.
Yeah, of course, this story was in the Activision Blizzard thing, and yeah, I had to be the one who talked about the breast milk heists. When the story first came out, I literally thought it was a fucking meme. Like, I thought someone was just shitposting.
Right, like this is something that would happen on an episode of Blue Mountain State, which for those of us who were fans of it back in the day, hasn't aged. You've grown, I promise you. So like, what the fuck?
Yes, I insist on writing about this one because it's one of the weirdest fucking things to come out of this whole story that just hit me like a truck when I heard it. Like I said before, I thought it was a meme when I first saw the story. I thought it was fake. Just when you thought this company couldn't be any more seedy, breastfeeding mothers who work at the company weren't even safe to pump at work and store it in the fridge because someone kept fucking stealing it.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? Other than to just be a sexist piece of shit.
Ice cream.
We get into the potential why very soon, don't worry.
Okay.
And before someone says, oh, maybe it was an accident, maybe they thought it was normal milk, Blizzard producer Stephanie Krutzik says it was very clearly breast milk in baggies with a baby's face on it. I don't know, if I see unlabeled milk with a picture of a baby on it, I'm starting to fuck away from it. She also says on her Twitter, quote, there were no other mothers in the building and very few women at all in either QA or CS at the time. All the other items I had seen earlier were still in the fridge. They were dated and labelled. So I don't know, it doesn't seem like an oopsie to me, but I also don't want to think about the real reason for why the titty milk was taken.
What the fuck? Find the person who's stealing breast milk. It won't be hard. Sounds like it's easy to pick out. And fire them.
Wait!
Oh my god.
Guys!
Oh my god.
Breaking news! We have a possible link to a breast milk bandit! Yeah, it looks like the employee posted on 4chan.
Oh.
Yeah, that actually adds up. On a post from 2019 that says, ask a guy who secretly drank his co-worker's breast milk as pre-workout supplements anything.
Of course, it's a gym, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the usual 4chan things happen in the thread. After an anon asks him where he works, he goes on to say, a large tech company. He goes on to say, no, we have a lactation room where pregnant mothers store their breast milk during the day to take home to their babies. I skimmed half a litre of the bottles in the fridge. After which, another anon asks him, was it worth the risk? To which he responds, I've thought about this for a while, and my logic is that human milk probably contains just the right amount of macros and other minerals, hormones for maximum gains. It's for a growing baby after all, plus the girl is pretty cute.
Wow.
The average amount of milk that a 1 to 6 month old consumes is 750 mils per day. So if they got did you say a half a liter?
Oh, half a litre, no, you're right.
Yeah, so that is 3/4 of their infant's food for that day or the next day. Good job, person.
Good for you. Glad your pump was good, you fucking troglodyte.
Absolute fucking degenerate.
Yeah.
2 years later to where we are now, and the breast milk heist of the century is revealed on Twitter, and the users of 4chan and elsewhere are able to connect the dots to our sneaky dev trying to get swole. His identity is still not known, but just keep an eye out for a swole game dev with white shit on his lips. Only the tip of the iceberg for this.
Trigger warning for sexual harassment, for descriptions of rape and suicide.
I'm gonna need another drink.
Yep.
I mean, there were so many examples that we highlighted in the story, like the rape allegations that led to a settlement out of court that Mr. Kotick didn't share with the board. He didn't mention the allegations or the settlement. There was an executive at one of the company's studios who had been allegedly sexually harassed several women. They did an investigation. Several people at the company recommended he be fired, but Mr. Kotick stood in and made sure this person stayed, despite the many allegations. One of the stats that stand out is the more than 500 complaints since just July from current and former employees of harassment, sexual assault, bullying, pay disparities, and other issues. One example in the story we point out is that many of these people who were accused of sexual harassment or abuse were given very flattering farewells. The company never said why they were leaving, But internally, many people knew the truth, and yet they were given a pat on the back on the way out the door. So keep in mind, there's a very much a culture of fear and intimidation, and many charges of retaliation for those who spoke out. So it was very difficult for people to come forward, and so now we have this exposed, and we're hearing about such examples.
Sarah, just quickly, how does Bobby Kotick keep his job? I mean, are you hearing anything from investors, from the board of directors, et cetera?
Well, we did, a group of shareholders did put out a letter this morning calling for his resignation or and changes. And we saw the editor-in-chief of one of the gaming press, Polygon, call for his resignation. And like I said, we had this walkout yesterday where people were asking for it. So that is possible. As of now, the board has said it is standing by his leadership. The board put out a statement yesterday saying that it remains committed to the goal of making Activision Blizzard the most welcoming and inclusive company in the industry, and that it's confident in Bobby Kotick's leadership, commitment, and ability to achieve these goals.
Sexual harassment and abuse happens in many companies, unfortunately. A large number of companies have people within their rank that have multiple reports of sexual harassment and abuse put against them, but leadership protects them and keeps them around. That's unfortunately not an uncommon thing, but I would argue that it's especially bad with Blizzard. There were multiple serial abusers active at the same time that were defended from many incidents of sexual harassment and abuse. The lawsuit lists a number of named and yet unnamed perpetrators, more than I'll speak about today, but I'll give you 3 examples of predators in bed with Blizzard. Let's start with Alex Afrasabi, the creative director for World of Warcraft. His face was pretty out there too, like he was the guy doing interviews and being chummy with interviewers and introducing new shit.
Welcome back. We are joined now by World of Warcraft creative director Alex Afrasiabi. What's going on, Alex? It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You know what? This BlizzCon's winding down, and I'm feeling good. I feel like our expansion is awesome.
Yeah, Battle for Azeroth.
Heck yeah.
Let's talk about this a little bit because you are really kind of driving and helping with the narrative right now.
I am.
So let's talk about the key characters for you.
Vol'jin, we will find out. We want to. I mentioned that his story was not over, and it is not over, right? You know, trolls never die.
Well, we talk to troll spirits all the time.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing.
I mean, literally the first thing you do in the new expansion that I just went and played is you go talk to the Loa of Death and you summon. So can we, oh my.
You know what?
Where is this going to go, Alex?
You know what? There are awesome things in store for Vol'jin that I can't spoil yet.
He was also notorious within the company for assaulting women during work trips. He, not so ironically, named his hotel room the Cosby Suite, named after the previously convicted serial rapist Bill Cosby.
Bruh. Dude, this was such typical frat boy bullshit when this came out. I don't know if you're going to get to this, how they tried to play off why they named it the Cosby Room.
Oh, I'll get to that.
Okay, yeah, it's insane. How fucking the word juvenile is perfect for this.
It says a lot about the culture of the company as well. But Bill Cosby he puts his fucking Quaaludes in the Jello pudding. I mean, does his thing. After all that comes out, someone at the company says, "Oh, let's put up a big picture of Bill Cosby in this hotel room," and no one at the company turns to him and goes, "What the fuck?"
Just wait till you hear how they try to explain this away in the lawsuit. It's fucking insane.
I can't wait.
And also, I want to make this crystal clear. When I say juvenile, I don't mean oh, boys will be boys. I mean, you're a goddamn adult. You know better. You know what you're doing is wrong, and you're choosing to do it anyway.
And making up excuses like a fucking juvenile to lie about what you did. Yeah.
And they're not even good excuses, so they don't even fucking care. All this enters stupid levels of irony. So they pose with a framed picture of Bill Cosby in 2013 in this hotel room. Now, allegations about Bill Cosby only became super viral news in 2014, but allegations have been out about him in the press since 2004. And it sounds like what happened in this room, the executives here knew what Bill Cosby was accused of and jokingly made a joke about them intoxicating women so they could abuse them as well. That seems to be, I hesitate to call it this, but the joke.
And this isn't just like these guys getting a hotel room and going to Vegas to be shitheads. This is at a work function.
Mm-hmm.
This is at a convention for Activision Blizzard employees to interact with other people in the industry and their fans.
Yeah, professionals trying to rub elbows and all that.
Yeah, this was on the job that these guys were doing this shit.
This is the horseshit, lazy lie that they tried to sell to people. They said that the Cosby Room jokes were simply about how Bill Cosby wears dated sweaters and the decor of the hotel room was sort of dated. That's their excuse.
I don't know about you guys, but I believe them.
Fuck.
Now, all the evidence against that. There are messages in a Blizzard executive group chat stating that they are gathering hot chicks for the cause. Alex himself saying that I can marry them all because I'm Middle Eastern. Alex also posted a shelf in the hotel room filled with a wedding reception's worth of alcohol, caption on the picture being, Day Zero preparations made, Cosby suite in effect.
Fucking Christ.
How do you begin with these assholes, man?
In one account of many, Ann Armstrong, an esports personality that was working with Blizzard, reports that she was invited to an executive room by Blizzard executives. And she found several very drunk Blizzard executives in that room with many other young women that were intoxicated. They pressured her to drink, and she wanted to stay sober, so she didn't drink. But throughout her short stay in that room, Alex tried to kiss her several times, not asking to kiss her, just shoving his mouth on hers. At one point, he even reached inside her dress to grope her breasts. This was in front of everybody at the party. And while all this was happening, while Alex was being a total creep to this woman, nobody did anything. It was right in plain view, and nobody intervened. It's almost like they expect this behavior out of Alex. She left, and she tried to get her friend to drive her to her car because she didn't want to walk with Alex. But Alex invited himself into the back seat of the friend's car for the ride to her car, was his excuse. And while he was in the back seat with her, he attempted to remove her panties and finger her, all while very loudly and clearly she was telling him to stop.
The fuck?
Because of his position as a Blizzard executive, she was scared to go public. And the event even became an inside joke. In future years, when she was doing more work with these conventions, with these work trips, the Blizzard executives made a joke about haha, oh, you're one of Alex's victims, ha ha ha. They thought that was funny. It became like an inside joke directed towards her.
Yeah, these guys are fucking twisted.
Yeah.
I hate that podcasts are a fucking audio medium because I feel like my face says 1,000 words that I just don't know how to convey.
Yeah, there's not really many words that are strong enough to describe this person.
Bruh, I fucking hate this.
These guys suck. Fuck these dudes. Do you want to go to Stormwind and spit on him now?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine you're an executive in the company. You receive this report. We all called it out right away. What a fucking piece of shit. They protected him. They ignored the reports. Whatever. Second example, Miguel Vega. He was a manager at Blizzard who, again, had a history of abuse known by Blizzard. But he was only terminated when stories of his abuse went public.
Well, I mean, from what you said before, it sounds like it's a fucking running meme inside the company itself. Everyone knows what's going on.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
In the lawsuit, an anonymous employee working under Vega, known as Jane Doe in the lawsuit, met Mr. Vega in 2009 at a Blizzard company game night. She formed a casual electronic relationship with Vega, consisting of flirting texts and them sending compromising photos back and forth. But it never went beyond electronics, so that was in 2009. That relationship definitively ended in 2011 when she met her husband. Vega knew she was married, and he knew that she didn't want that type of attention after she got married to her husband. In 2016, she was looking for work in the gaming industry, and she hit up her old friend Miguel Vega. He helped her get a full-time position at the company. And from that point, Miguel held this action above her head in order to manipulate and sexually harass her.
Ugh.
He would have inappropriate conversations with her, telling her he was a highly sexual person that needed to get off several times a day, asking what made her come, how she masturbated, how her husband pleasured her. She didn't humor these questions, but he kept on asking them. Again, like most women at this company, she was hired at a very low pay compared to others in her position. So she went to her manager, which was Miguel, and asked about getting equally paid, and he pointed to his penis and said, "You know what to do." And this became a theme. Whenever she would ask for a raise, he would jokingly, like not so jokingly, ask for a sexual favor. Like it was one of those like, haha, unless, except not a joke. He was using the guise of it being a joke to cover his blatant manipulation. He attempted many times to corner her in empty rooms and attempt to kiss her. In a dozen or more occasions, he would grope, squeeze, or poke her breasts. At other times, he would ask her to give him oral sex and proposition her for sex, like in the middle of the workday. At each of these incidents, she would recoil and express her disinterest, which Vega would always reply with, "One day you'll give in to me."
Which is a threat, right? Like as a very large cis white man, I don't get a lot of those like sexual threats. That's a threat, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like a threat.
That's fucking gross.
I knew shit that happened, but I've never like actually looked into it first-hand details like this deep. This is fucking nightmarish.
This is supposed to be a 10-page script, but shit happened. And like, I don't understand men like this. I want somebody who I'm having sex with to genuinely crave me. Like, I want to be craved. I want to be validated because they hunger for me. I don't want to be pity fucked, or I don't want to argue someone into submission to fuck me. Do these people even like sex? I don't get it.
I have no idea.
As she continued to deny him, he became more and more hostile towards her. In company meetings, like in front of other employees, Vega said that Jane Doe had terrible ideas, that she was failing a job a monkey could do, that she was a nobody who didn't know shit, and the level of hostility seemed to grow as she continued to deny him. When she eventually threatened to go to HR, you remember those compromising photos they traded? He used blackmail via revenge porn to discourage her from going to HR. And it didn't work. She went to HR anyways, but it was Blizzard's HR. So nothing was done until the lawsuit went public in 2021. Then he was fired. Not in 2017 when it was reported, 40 years later.
Yeah, imagine having to put up with that for, I mean, I fucking hope she didn't have to work at Blizzard that entire time, but imagine putting up with that 5 fucking years.
The third example is Greg Restituto. The third and final example I'll give is continued harassment that the lawsuit alleges led to a young woman dying by suicide during a Blizzard work trip. Now, the exact details at this point are unknown. The lawsuit's ongoing, a lot of details are under wraps, but even the small details made public are horrifying. The woman's name is Carrie Moynihan, a finance manager at Blizzard, and her boss was this Greg Restudio. The lawsuit alleges during a work trip, right before her suicide, photos of her vagina were passed around a holiday party, humiliating her. She was just distraught, broken by this experience of being exposed like that to all her coworkers.
Well, can you blame her?
I can't.
Jesus.
These photos may have come from her boss, Greg, as according to her parents, he had a sexual relationship with Carrie that she felt she couldn't say no to due to his power of position over her in the company. She felt like if she denied him a sexual relationship, she would be punished professionally in the company. The pressure from this relationship she couldn't say no to, along with her humiliation at the holiday party, significantly contributed to her death. The last text message she received on her cell phone, and this had to be recovered from her cell phone after it was wiped, we'll find out about that later, was from Greg saying, "Please don't do that, not tonight. Think about it and make your decision when your mind is clear." And according to estimates of forensic investigators, she was dead 30 minutes after this text message was sent. Her boss, Greg, started approaching employees who witnessed her the night preceding her death. making what the lawsuit says is strange requests. Again, the details of these strange requests aren't public, but one could speculate that maybe he was trying to cover his tracks and encourage people not to talk. That's just me guessing. I don't know.
Occam's razor, buddy. The simplest solution here would be, fuck you, Greg.
When her death was investigated by police, despite the fact that it was an open secret that Greg was sleeping with her because he was allegedly passing her nudes around, he denied having any sort of sexual relationship with her when interviewed by police. And then police discovered that his hotel room card was in her room. And additionally, this is a fuck up on the police's part.
They don't do that, do they?
Right. So, yeah, this is a fuck up on the police's part. They didn't secure the crime scene, so people, including Blizzard executives and employees, were allowed in and out of the room even after the body was found the next morning. And the lawsuit implies that there was some attempt to alter the crime scene.
You're fucking joking.
No.
These guys tried to cover up literally.
It gets worse. During the investigation, I told you guys you wouldn't believe me. During the investigation, Blizzard themselves refused to hand over her company laptop whatsoever. I don't know what legal pressures they can put on them, but the cops weren't able to get her laptop. But they were able to get her company's cell phone. But it had been restored to factory settings with all the data deleted. But they were able to get some of it back through a cloud, blah, blah, blah. But obvious attempts for Blizzard to cover up this abuse in their company. Shit hits the fan.
It hasn't already?
Just you wait. After years of abuse, mistreatment, exploitation, unfair labor practices, and sexual harassment, including sexual harassment and abuse that led to a woman's death, multiple lawsuits were filed against Blizzard. Fucking finally.
And today we're going to talk about the story on everybody's mind. Activision Blizzard has been sued by the state of California. It's important to note that the state of California, through their Department of Fair Employment and Housing Agency, has sued Activision Blizzard for two things primarily. One, that I think most people have heard of, is sexual harassment at the company. And you've seen stories that have been reported on. We won't go into detail on those here for the most part. And two, discrimination on the part of Activision Blizzard in respect of basically all employment-related decisions as they affect women. So hiring, firing, constructive termination, promotion, payment. The state of California has alleged that Activision Blizzard is not just accidentally discriminating against women, is not just accidentally sexually harassing women, but in fact, if you go and we look all the way down at the counts here, we see that the state of California has asserted that Blizzard and Activision Publishing was willful, malicious, fraudulent, and oppressive in respect of holding down women's pay, in not hiring them, in not promoting them, and in facilitating the harassment that you have seen reported upon.
The lawsuit claiming that women of all levels of employment were negatively impacted by the company, both in their pay and through the frat-like atmosphere that they had to work in. One of the abuses the lawsuit claims was a repeated tendency of Blizzard to ignore complaints of female employees about blatant harassment, abuse, and even reports of those same employees suffering retaliation for reporting their abusers. So they would ignore reports of harassment, and then when the people they reported heard that the person under them reported them and retaliated against them, they would report that retaliation and also nothing would be done. Another was filed on behalf of Carrie by her parents, them claiming that the company contributed to her death. Now, recently in 2022, this lawsuit was retracted on behalf of the parents. Maybe the parents wanted to move on and grieve. They didn't give any details. The lawyer didn't provide a statement, but maybe they were pressured in some other way, because her death is mentioned by that other lawsuit, and the other lawsuit is still pursuing it. But the personal lawsuit that her parents filed was retracted by them. So, yeah, maybe they wanted to go on to grieve, or maybe Blizzard did some things to encourage them to drop the lawsuit. Speculation. Blizzard released a statement in response to the second lawsuit that has been highly condemned. This was kind of the moment when, all the employees in the company universally turned against Blizzard. This was by rumor, written by Bobby Kotick himself. Just wrote a tone-deaf response denying their responsibility for this woman's death.
I want to talk with you today about our future and reiterate my conviction to create the most welcoming and inclusive workplace. Over the last few months, so many of you have generously and candidly shared your experiences and your insights about the type of company you want us to be. We've taken meaningful actions to improve our company and our culture, but there's more to do. To become the model workplace we all aspire to be, more change is required. But I am so confident we will get there. There will, of course, be continued media attention about us and our industry over the next few months. In fact, there's an article today that paints an inaccurate and misleading view of our company, of me personally, and my leadership. I want to say two important things about this. First, we are incredibly fortunate to have the most talented people in our industry, all so committed to constant improvement, and I share this commitment. The second thing I want to say is that anyone who doubts my conviction to be the most welcoming and inclusive workplace doesn't really appreciate how important this is to me. Creativity and inspiration thrives best in a safe, welcoming, respectful environment. There is no substitute for that. And staying true to our values without exceptions is the best way to retain our talent and to attract the new talent we need to achieve our great potential. As I've made clear, we're moving forward with a new zero tolerance policy for inappropriate behavior, and zero means zero. Any reprehensible conduct is simply unacceptable. We have a chance to further enhance our culture and be the example other companies will follow. And we are so incredibly fortunate. Connecting and engaging the world through joy and fun is a powerful mission. Accomplishing this in a welcoming, inclusive workplace ensures we will achieve our mission with excellence.
So just to read between the lines for people, they're saying, oh, geez, it's really unfair of this law firm to take advantage of these grieving parents and convince them that we were the cause of their daughter's death.
Guys, it's just so inconvenient that this person committed suicide for us. Why aren't you thinking about it from our point of view as a multinational giant conglomerate company?
We employ a lot of these people and keep them nicely abused. So really, California, you stop trying to get rid of us.
Yeah, California's kind of missing out if they leave.
Yeah.
After this came out, over 2,000 present and former Blizzard employees signed an internal letter saying the company's public statement was abhorrent and insulting, also stating that the letter has made them lose all trust that company leaders will take employee safety seriously. And be reminded where these employees are coming from. They have heard the rumor mill. They know that Greg was in an inappropriate relationship with her. This was an open secret that the lawsuit implies Greg bragged about. Despite Blizzard knowing that their employees knew about it, they decided to just put out this statement that implied that they had nothing to do with it. So, no wonder all the employees turned against them. Bobby Kotick then released a public statement in response to the letter signed by 2,000 present and former Blizzard employees. It's the public statement that I spoke about earlier, the one where he says, every voice matters, we'll do a better job of listening, and there is no place anywhere in our company for discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment. So, just to bring this back into frame, this woman died by suicide. From my opinion, it seems like the company and what she went through likely contributed to that. And then they used the reaction within the company to make an excuse to union bust. That's when they hired that law firm to start union busting. Even in their statement where they're apologizing for their tone-deaf statement, they use that to backdoor a union busting law firm into the company. They're blatant as fuck. They don't seem to care.
That's cartoonishly evil.
Yeah.
This is some Mr. Burns shit.
Unfortunately, I think we do have to do a quick lawyer magic words. Can we all just say the word allegedly 3 times? Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, they fucking did it. Fuck these guys.
So Bobby Kotick, as you guys will remember, Blizzard CEO, has always maintained that he didn't know about the sexual harassment and bad work culture at his company until the stories hit the news in 2021. Predictably, that wasn't true. This is just the direct evidence that disproves that. He got an email in 2018 from an executive of a department in the Blizzard company detailing the serial rape of an employee by her male supervisor. Blizzard reached an out-of-court settlement with this anonymous woman. Bobby never told other executives at Blizzard. He kept the assault out of company reports that should have had that in it, and he hid the event from the public and the rest of the company. He had a duty to make these things known, according to HR policies, but he didn't. That was only the direct evidence. There are a lot of anonymous insider reports that Bobby knew about the other assaults and harassments as well, and joked about them with everybody else. They say that he participated in the cover-ups. He instructed employees to remain quiet about their abuses, all while he knew of Blizzard's frat boy atmosphere. And it's reported that he often participated in it. Remember those drunken, crude pub crawls through the office where they harass employees? He was allegedly part of those.
Color me surprised.
Yeah. He knew of the unequal pay conditions. He knew about the discrimination against women and LGBT members in his company. He knew of the rapes and assaults in his company, but he insisted to the public he didn't know. And he was a threatening influence as well, even threatening to kill his assistant on one occasion when he was frustrated with her.
Thanks so much for having me. What we're really revealing today is Bobby Kotick's role in this whole mess. So Activision is under fire from multiple regulatory fronts about its culture of harassment towards women. So what we were showing today is that Bobby Kotick was involved over the years, knew of many allegations, including alleged rapes at one studio, had intervened in one case to keep an executive accused of sexual harassment at the company, and had his own behavior issues over the years. So that's what we're really showing in this story.
Kirsten, from reading your article, it seems that not all, but one of the key parts of your accusations against Kotick is that he did not notify the board when he became aware of various accusations of harassment going on in the company. So I wonder what your view was of the statement we did just receive from the company, from the board in particular, that we read out, including the line, "The board remains confident that Bobby Kotick appropriately addressed workplace issues brought to his attention."
That's right. Well, listen, I can't speak for the board, obviously, but I can tell you that our extensive reporting, including internal documents, shows that directors were pretty blindsided by some of the allegations that became public when the state of California sued. They clearly felt like they should have been told sooner, or at the time at least. Going back years, Bobby Kotick was aware of some of these allegations and didn't let them know. I can't speak for what the board is going to do now, but this is very much a company under crisis.
Yeah, and to your point about a company in crisis, I mean, the stock is reflecting that. It's down 28%.
Company policy would force any employees reporting sexual harassment into a process of forced arbitration within the company, meaning if they were being harassed, they would agree as a condition of their employment to have it taken care of within the company. And through doing so, they would waive their right to sue, participate in class action lawsuits, or appeal. Now, the class action lawsuit is going forward still because agreements like that often aren't legally sound, but they sound good enough to manipulate employees into following them.
Yeah, that's just it. It's a threat, right?
Especially like if they have to put up with this for so fucking long and they're, dead inside and see no hope.
Because the person that they're being served to isn't a lawyer, they're just like, oh, fuck, I guess I'm not allowed to talk about this.
No.
In October 2021, Bobby Kotick announced that he had his salary cut to, why don't I have it written down? Did I delete that? It was like $69,000, I think. So he had his pay cut to $69,000 a year. So, and he said that I'm going to keep at this low wage until the directors feel that I've brought diversity, equity, and inclusion goals back to the company.
He had asked for a pay cut down to $62,500.
I think we can all speak for Bobby and say that's very brave of him.
Yeah.
After years of milking this company for millions of dollars.
Well, that's the thing. He receives bonuses several times a year every time he makes Blizzard's stock price pop up. And some of these bonuses were as high as $200 million.
October 2021, he had taken this pay cut down to $62,500. In April that same year, he had already taken a pay cut of 50% down to $875,000 a year. So he was at, what would that be, 1.7-ish million?
Yeah.
What
the fuck? Fuck this guy. What a fucking loser.
Bobby is like literally the worst fucking person.
I would also be able to take a $62,000 pay cut if I had previously been making $800K a year.
And receiving several $100 million a year in bonuses.
Right.
As part of that public statement, Blizzard executives said that they were announcing a new zero-tolerance policy for harassment and abuse, but then only got rid of some of the people who had accusations against them and didn't make any fundamental changes. So, understandably, the employees of Blizzard didn't believe their executives' hollow words, so in November 2021, employees decided to start their own zero-tolerance policy. They formed a group, the Activision Blizzard King Workers Alliance, and they put out this statement. We have instituted our own zero-tolerance policy. We will not be silenced until Bobby Kotick has been replaced as CEO and continue to hold our original demand for third-party review by an employee-chosen source. We are staging a walkout today. We welcome you to join us. Several hundred employees walked out, joined by hundreds more in the public to protest against Blizzard and its CEO. But that same day that these people released their statement about their own zero-tolerance policy, Blizzard released another statement. The Activision Blizzard board remains committed to the goal of making Activision Blizzard the most welcoming and inclusive company in the industry. Under Bobby Kotick's leadership, the company is already implementing industry-leading changes, including a zero-tolerance harassment policy, a dedication to achieving significant increases to the percentages of women and non-binary people in our workforce, and significant internal and external investments to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. It's the same collection of sounds nice, but when are you going to do it? Words that they've been saying this whole time?
Yeah, they just throw fucking words out that they know people like to hear.
So they put out these statements making promises. They're under the gun for a lawsuit that says that they pay women less systematically. Now, under this kind of pressure, do you think Blizzard changed their ways?
I hope they did.
No.
Bruh.
So, the lead at Blizzard quit amongst all this controversy in 2021. 2 people were hired to replace him. So instead of one person taking over his job, there would be 2 co-leads that would take over his job. And Jen O'Neill was celebrated. They put out press releases celebrating that she was the first woman co-lead at the company, because that would give them good press. She worked at the company when the allegations went public. She worked at the company when Blizzard put out their many hollow statements. And yet, even with his attention on her and pressure on the company, Jen quit working Blizzard after 3 months because her pay was lower than her male counterparts.
Oh my god.
And she's co-lead of the company.
This sounds like a bad fucking joke.
Even when they're under the gun and under scrutiny and already have a lawsuit, they can't be fucked to chip in an extra $20,000 to pay her the same amount. They just can't be fucked.
What a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
That's a bad joke. What the fuck?
And like, this is very transparent. They announced that she's the first woman co-lead, so they want that good press. So she quit. She tendered her resignation, telling lawyers internally that it was clear the company would never prioritize our people in the right way. Oh, she was also reportedly sexually harassed during her time at the company, so it appears that nothing has changed. Just to really, really kick it home, when she put out her resignation, Blizzard immediately realized, we announced that our woman co-lead 3 months ago was starting, and now she's quitting. This is going to be bad press. It was then and only then did they offer her a raise on her way out the door, and she refused and walked out.
Based.
Because the only time they offered her a raise is when they knew they would get bad press if they didn't. Blizzard's complete inability to take responsibility for its actions continued, as it was soon discovered that upon the lawsuit being announced, Blizzard began to destroy documents and records relevant to the lawsuits.
Wait, a Blizzard or Blizzard themselves?
A blizzard of shredding, I'm sure. There was lots of confetti.
Yeah.
Out of one side of their mouth, they're apologizing, saying they're committed to rectifying wrong, saying that they're going to take responsibility. And on the other end, they're literally shredding documents and eliminating evidence. As small and big news outlets began to interview ex-employees and report on the lawsuit, Blizzard began to bribe journalists and buy out the smaller news outlets to either eliminate the story or control the narrative.
And that's probably where a bunch of the things that I was talking about came from.
Yeah, remember all those premium memberships? This is what all that money is going to, buying rinky-dink newspapers so they don't make public your stories of abuse. At one point, the company just made a legal appeal to reject the entire lawsuit itself, which failed. The court just said, no, we're going to continue. This gained them a brand new wave of negative public attention. Like, that day on Twitter was hell for them. Now, it may be a coincidence, but on that day, they released early upcoming playable character in Overwatch 2. And announced a brand new character. Sojourn? I haven't learned to pronounce their name.
Sojourn.
Now, it may have been coincidence, but it's weird that they announced that on the same day that the news of this denial went public.
And we're here to talk to you a bit about our new hero, Sojourn.
Sojourn. Engaging.
She's our newest DPS hero, and I figure I can kick us off by talking a little bit about her story. Sojourn is a hero who is obviously no stranger to combat. She got her start in the Canadian military and eventually was so successful there that she joined up with Overwatch.
Blizzard also may have bribed a politician to attempt to kill the lawsuit. Again, details have not been released, but a lawyer, Melanie Proctor, employed by the Californian law firm that is suing Blizzard on behalf of Blizzard employees, was fired as the lawsuit was entering its active stage. Melanie stated in an email that she sent to all staff before she left the firm, claiming that she had evidence that she hasn't revealed yet, that Californian Governor Gavin Newsom personally intervened on Blizzard's behalf to fire her in order to upset the lawsuit.
American politicians don't do that, do they?
Very rarely.
Oh, thank God.
Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray. This week, we're joined by reporter Emily Hoven. Emily, we have a state attorney, a boss, who was fired. Her underling quit. And this is over apparently some thought that the governor was messing in a lawsuit. Can you explain all this?
Yeah, so there were these allegations that surfaced from one of the top attorneys at one of the state's anti-discrimination agencies. And she basically said the governor and his staff had been interfering in that department's lawsuit against Activision Blizzard Inc., which is a video game publisher. Mm-hmm. They had sued that company over, sexual harassment and discrimination claims. And then, this woman said that the governor had fired her boss and was, asking what are your strategies for this lawsuit, basically apparently trying to help Activision Blizzard. And, there has been some reporting showing that former top executives and board members at Activision have been big donors to the various Newsom campaigns. The governor's office says that these allegations are completely false and there was no meddling or intrusion. But this is kind of ongoing for the governor.
Blizzard set up a workplace responsibility committee, which sounds good on its face, but in reality, the majority of the members on this committee are the same executives that ignored abuses in the past. They still quietly put out to the press that these abuses were only a couple bad apples, like just a few bad apples. While in reality, by January of 2022, they had fired nearly 40 employees in secret for misconduct. I'm supposing they didn't want more reports to come forward. Like, they didn't care about their employees' well-being before this. So this sudden action to fire people, I can only speculate as to just improve their public image. Many of these employees had harassment complaints about them on their record going back many, many years, but they were only fired when public attention on Blizzard was there. All this inaction had to go somewhere, and more members of the public were turning on Blizzard every day. Other gaming companies wrote public letters condemning Blizzard's behavior. Popular gaming streamers started to boycott their games and encourage fans to do the same. Soon, entire competing game companies were staging walkouts in solidarity with the repeated Blizzard walkouts. Lifelong executive employees started to leave Blizzard amongst the controversy. Their chief legal officer quits, which I'm guessing is not a good sign in an ongoing lawsuit. The guy in charge of Overwatch quits. Meanwhile, Blizzard keeps on trying to patch holes in the ship. Every time someone leaves, they hire somebody, and they turn that hiring story into positive press for them. This person is a new attempt at equality. And
please stand in front of the scanner. Let us scan your DNA.
Wait till you see this calculator we have. You're going to be using that.
We're going to assign you a score based on how diverse you are. Could you put that on your name badge and wear it around the office?
Sweet. And can you write this letter to IGN for us?
Then Blizzard was hit where it really hurts, right in the BlizzCon.
BlizzCon 2009, for the first time ever. BlizzCon 2010, Blizzard Entertainment's epic gaming convention is back. BlizzCon 2011, Blizzard Entertainment's epic gaming convention is back and online. BlizzCon 2013.
To me, BlizzCon is community.
Welcome to BlizzCon!
What you're seeing here today is just the beginning.
None of this stuff exists without the participation of the community.
We are excited as hell.
It's when we get together with the people that actually, live and breathe these worlds that we build.
BlizzCon was a yearly event that fans of Blizzard games could dress up in cosplay, gather, gossip, buy merchandise, and see what their favorite gaming company, Blizzard Entertainment, is putting out next. BlizzCon was canceled in 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemic, and 2022 was supposed to be its grand year back in action. The year that BlizzCon charges back. But the company could see which way the wind was blowing, and with controversies in full force, they canceled their yearly con, fearing it would turn into a media circus of reporters and protesters, which I hope it would have. Eventually, in the midst of this chaos, Microsoft buys Blizzard for $69 billion.
Nice.
Now, Microsoft could have changed Blizzard's course here, but unfortunately they were not really a saving grace, but simply crude businessmen. I don't know this for sure, but I've read opinions that Microsoft could have taken the opportunity of the ongoing controversies to pay less for Blizzard than they would have otherwise. So they were just trying to strike a deal to obtain a gaming company, according to some.
That makes complete sense, though.
And another sign that they weren't really coming in as a saving grace is they kept Bobby on as Blizzard's head executive. Employees internally throughout 2022 reported that the Blizzard workplace didn't positively change enough to eliminate abuses. The employees admitted there was improvements, but not enough to prevent future abuses. They felt like future abuses would continue to happen because enough changes hadn't been made. So Microsoft taking them over wasn't a saving grace, quite the opposite. The acquisition by some was frequently used to distract and overshadow ongoing media stories about the abuse.
I don't think the acquisition is done yet. I think it's still
still ongoing,
in review, and it's in the news recently that the American FTC might be putting the kibosh on it as a anti-competition suit or an anti-monopoly suit.
Yeah, it's currently being reviewed by the Federal Trade Commission in the United States, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, as well as the European Commission, because they're all big enough companies that it matters. It's also being reviewed in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and elsewhere. I don't know where elsewhere is.
It can't be the Russians, right? The Russians love that monopoly shit.
I feel like they're busy, too.
After the Microsoft acquisition, and Merg is right, the acquisition is ongoing. The official start of the acquisition was early in 2022.
It's kind of like when your dad says that he's marrying a new person and you don't have to call them mom, but also they're super busy with work in New York and you live out in the Midwest. So she hasn't actually moved in yet, but he's definitely making room and talking to her all on the phone all the time. And while he seems really happy, you don't know if this is actually going to work out and they're not actually married yet. So is she going to adopt you? You don't really know. It's that kind of turbulence.
It's very oddly specific.
For example.
Yeah.
Hallmark, call me. I've got ideas. It's Christmas time. Let's make a deal.
Christmas.
Feedback@ovpod.ca. I will require a headhunter's fee for giving you Merg's talent. But yeah, hit me up.
We're making the OVPOD Hallmark Christmas movie this winter.
Yeah, I think so. At this point in the story, $18 million that Blizzard set aside was officially designated as a settlement for the lawsuit. Activision spun this off as them creating a fund for their victims, but they were legally forced to create it.
A judge approves an $18 million settlement between Santa Monica-based gaming company Activision Blizzard and federal regulators over complaints of sexual harassment and discrimination of female employees. But some victims say it's not enough.
The accusers thought working for the gaming company would be a dream.
But then they say the abuse started and their jobs became agony.
I've had men in these leadership roles put their hands on my lap, come up behind me and tightly hug me from behind.
Today, 2 Activision accusers shared their stories with their attorney Lisa Bloom by their side.
The same person that told me I was being too sensitive was the same person who would put their hands on me repeatedly without my consent.
Bloom has now filed a separate lawsuit against the company, saying the payout doesn't do justice for what these women endured.
The number is woefully inadequate. So we've seen other cases of massive sexual harassment where the compensation fund is typically in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's what should be the case here.
My abuser would often brag that going to HR would be pointless, that my word meant nothing.
Well, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing is also suing the company for equal pay violations.
At the same time, at Raven Software, a Blizzard company department, they formed a union, and they began demanding what was fair and equitable. A pattern emerged where if Raven approached Blizzard internally, nothing changed. But if they made a public statement asking for something with media attention, changes slowly started to happen. Again, displaying Blizzard isn't concerned with the happiness of its employees, only their public perception and stock price. Then things got even bigger. Bernie fucking Sanders, in April 2022, spoke on Activision Blizzard, and he and 3 other senators penned a letter stating, in part, "We are deeply concerned about the consolidation in the tech industry and its impact on workers. Workers at Activision Blizzard, following years of rampant sexual misconduct and discrimination and unfair labor practices, have led calls for greater transparency and accountability in the gaming industry. And we are deeply concerned that this acquisition could further disenfranchise these workers and prevent their voices from being heard." That was the anti-monopoly lawsuit that Bernie Sanders was arguing for. Like, the government several times throughout this process has made threats at Blizzard. They seem like hollow threats so far, but the government has told Blizzard on a few occasions, "Fix your shit or we'll take your profits." Now, some things have improved, but there's still abusive people that are working for the company that haven't been fired yet. Problems have not all been rectified, and Blizzard is still dipping and dodging responsibility anywhere they can. So, I don't know. I'm not a politician, but I think maybe the government should stop threatening and maybe confiscate some profits instead of continually threatening it every 6 months.
Do it.
So, some positive changes have occurred. A pledge to increase the number of non-male employees by 50% was announced, and unlike a lot of the hollow words before, there's some reports coming from people internally showing that they are actually attempting to reach that number. Positions such as a vice president of culture and other positions were created with goal of them bringing more inclusion and equality into the workplace. On the other hand, insiders say that these new hires have been a mixed bag. They frequently make big promises and do make some positive changes, but the changes are not enough to match their promises. The hundreds of quality assurance workers on short contracts with no benefits were made into full-time employees with benefits, but these improvements were not across the board. The Raven union members were denied raises while employees in the same job outside the union received them. Blizzard came out with a statement blaming union rules.
Of course, yep.
They stated that if we give them raises during union negotiations, it could be seen as us legally attempting to bribe them to vote against their union.
As opposed to illegally punishing them as a method of union busting.
Yeah. This reason was responded to by the union, calling the move galling and a deliberate attempt to exclude union members from raises. Other unions also responded to the statement, like people who were actually versed in union rules, saying that similar union rules have never prevented their workers receiving raises during negotiations. And that brings us to today. According to insiders, the company has fired the majority of its abusive employees. That's according to insiders. But many still remain. And on top of that, many executives and managers that didn't directly assault anyone, but ignored, downplayed, or even covered up past abuses are still at the company in great positions of power. Bobby Kotick, despite becoming a villain to his own workers to the point of them constantly demanding that he resign in disgrace, remains in charge of Blizzard, and Blizzard is in the midst of multiple active lawsuits. As you've seen in the story, Blizzard executives will do anything to improve their stock price and public perception, while employee safety and happiness were only relevant when it would make them look good. In my opinion, I think Bobby needs to be removed now. I think past executives that stood by while abuses were happening need to be removed. I think keeping them there just keeps the company in the same mindset. They didn't feel bad back then, and it seems like they don't really feel bad now, so why are they being kept around? But this is still ongoing. I'll continue to report on it. It seems like things are trending in a positive direction. The lawsuits are proceeding, but we won't know all what happens until it's all over. So that's all I have for today. A shitty excuse for a company being picked apart like the rotting carcass it is, with the hope for their workers being treated actually fairly in the future. That's what I got. I don't know how to conclude this going. And
that was a hard listen.
Fuck you, Bobby.
Yeah, fuck you, Bobby. For Occultae Veritatis, I've been Ood Gallifrey.
Leon Felger.
I'm Papa Bray. You can find me at twitch.tv/Papa Bray. I play video games badly.
I'm Ergy. You can also find me on Twitch, but not really because I don't play that often. Don't find me.
And I'm the soundboard demon.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and put a happy song at the end, but for tonight, I think I'm done. Love
Fuck
you all.
you, Bobby.
Fuck you, Bobby.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, boy. Here's a foxtrot all the way from 1922. Club Royal Orchestra and their song, The Chic. See you in the after show. An update to case number 8. That's a long time ago. Yeah, guess who's dead? Is Isagawa. Who's that guy? Well, first you should go back in OVPOD history and listen to case number 8 to hear the whole story. But to make a long story short, he is a Japanese cannibal that was able to murder and partially consume a Dutch student and then be extradited back to Japan where he faced no real repercussions. He even became sort of a celebrity in the area. He did some interviews. People sought him out. He was kind of treated like an important person. Well, he's fucking dead. He died at the end of November. And that's it. That's about the update. I forgot this guy even existed. You know, the kind of person you want to forget about, because some cannibal who murdered a Dutch woman, like, he gets to walk around free and be a D-list celebrity in Japan and make a living off of his status. I'm glad he's dead. I think the bitterness of this matches the bitterness that I had at the end of the Blizzard episode, so that matches. I will see you next time for our Christmas special, whatever that happens to be. Ta-ta for now.